Finding your perfect sensitivity is very important, but in a vast landscape of aim styles and pro player influence, it can be hard to find yours. So let's take a deep dive into the subject, where we'll discuss the mentality around it, certain pitfalls you should avoid, and ultimately, how you can find your perfect sensitivity. Our sensitivity is based off two things, our in-game sense and our mouse DPI. And if we multiply these together, we get what's called an eDPI. This is basically a universal number for our sense. My sense is 1.46 and my DPI is 400, so with some quick maths we get my eDPI. If we go to ProSettings.com, you can see that the average sense is a lot lower than other FPS games. That's because CS has a controlled environment, meaning we know what angles we need to hold and most of the possible outcomes. So unlike most games, you don't need to have the ability to 360 all the time, because you won't be so focused on where the enemy is, but more on the accuracy when you know you're going to face them. All this information can make it sound complicated, but there's actually a mathematical method we're going to use to narrow it down further. To tell you how it works, we give this website a sensitivity. It'll give us a high option and a low option, and we need to try each of them out and select which one we prefer. The website will keep on giving us more values based off of our answers until it eventually gives us the perfect sense. I'm going to give you three options, a high sense, a medium sense, and a low sense. And remember, this is technically theoretical. It's not always going to be your perfect sense, because that comes down to you, but it definitely points you in the right direction to finding it. And when you do find that desired sense, you'll find that switching to it can be a bit difficult. Say if I wanted to switch my sense from 1.46 to 2, I'd struggle because it's so much faster than my muscle memory's used to. But a good way to overcome this is to change your sense a little bit higher than the desired one. In my case, I could do 2.5, play on that for a bit, and then go back down to 2. And the same can be done the other way around. If someone wanted to switch from a sense of 3 to 1.5, then they could go all the way down to 1, play on that, and then go back up to 1.5. Oh, and also, the stream we did on New Year's was a bloody belter. All the boys turned up, we spanned the wheel, and we even played some CS together. I really enjoyed it, so I'm gonna go live again this weekend. But to keep up to date on the times and that, go and follow me on X. I literally made this account the other day just to keep you guys posted with when I'm streaming and stuff like that. But yeah, with all the sensitivity we've been talking about, I'm gonna address the elephant in the room, because he's been eyeing me up the whole time, and it's getting a little bit awkward. Switching sense isn't necessarily the solution to your problems. In the short term, it might feel more beneficial, but that's just because you're more focused on your aim since it's different. If you want to be better in the long run, you need to find a sense and stick with it. I like to think of it this way. If you want to switch your sensitivity, think of whether you'll be a better player in 1 year's time. Because during the initial switch, you might drop off in terms of performance, but once you get used to it and get back to your original level, there might be more room above you to improve further than you could before. If you're just starting your CS journey, then absolutely switch up your sense and find what works for you. But there's a lot of players who switch their sense all the time, even though they've been playing the game for years. I used to do this exact thing, and funnily enough, it's because I wanted to replicate my favourite pro players. But I built a really bad habit around this. Like, I'd be using Shox' settings because I was a Shox fanboy, but then I'd see Simple get a high sense flick shot on Reddit and I'd switch to his. But then I'd see Nico get a really clean shot of his smooth low sense and I'd get FOMO of my high sense and switch to his. And after being stuck in this cycle for an embarrassing amount of time, I realised that I'd stopped my skill progression a surprising amount, and I'd also lost my sense of player identity. You see, I used to have insecurities with my own abilities, so whenever I'd miss a shot, I'd instantly look for a quick fix, rather than facing the facts that I just needed to work on it. And as hard as it is to admit, it was my own ego that was clouding my vision as to what my ideal sense was. I would think to myself, if this was my perfect sense, then I'd be hitting every shot already, which is just such a bad mindset to have. And I've done it with sensitivity, crosshairs, mouse grips, peripherals, even posture. And after all is said and done, I found that after I surrendered my pursuit of such things, it naturally came to me. Turns out, I just prefer a low sense, and I play the way I find comfortable. It kinda reminds me of who we are in real life. We go through different phases trying to discover ourselves, and we can even put on a facade to look like someone we're not. But we won't truly exceed in becoming a better person until we embrace who we really are and become comfortable with it. And with all of this context, I think the discussion opens up a lot into more overlapping subjects, and maybe we can discuss these together at some point in the nearby future. But for now, I'm probably going to go play some CS.